So then guys, we've just had the WWDC 2025 event, and at that event we got loads of new software upgrades, including in our favorite kind of operating systems out there like iOS 26, WatchOS 26, iPadOS 26, macOS 26 to name a few. But today what I want to do for you is I want to cover over 10 things that Apple didn't mention, or 10 features or 10 things, whichever way you want to look at it, that they did not tell us about. And starting out with number one for iOS 26, we've actually lost compatibility now with getting a new operating system on to a certain type of phones out there. We're talking about the iPhone XS and the XR. So if you had one of those iPhones that came out a good number of years ago now, I think it was back in 2018 that those phones came out, well, unfortunately, you will not get the latest version of iOS 26 on your iPhone. So you cannot get that anymore. So just be aware, if you do have an iOS or an iPhone, you know, XS or an XS Max or the XR, you can no longer now get, like I said, iOS 26 on this iPhone. Now, the second thing is a big one, what I'd say Apple didn't mention, is that quite a lot of these new abilities like live translation and also all these extra sort of Apple Intelligence features, they're only compatible on the latest sort of iPhone and also the generation before. So if you've got an iPhone 15 Pro or an iPhone 15 Pro Max or any of the iPhone 16 models, you get to use all these new features that were shown today. But like I said, anything what used any kind of thing to do with machine learning or kind of did any kind of translation kind of tools or things like this, this is not going to be compatible on any of, say, the normal iPhone 15, the 15 Plus, any of the 14 range, 13 range, 12, 11s, you get it. It's not going to work on those iPhones. So just be aware of that too. And then the third thing that Apple did not mention is that if you have an iPhone 11 model or if you have the second generation iPhone SE, you will not be able to use that feature of that sort of spatial kind of vision, kind of background, what we saw like with that kangaroo as a demonstration. It's only the iPhone 12 models and newer, the iPhone SE third generation is compatible, but you know, everything else newer than that will be able to use that feature. So just be aware of that. And then after this, a fourth big feature, what I think should have definitely been mentioned, is to do with AirPods. And that is now with your AirPods, you can actually start recording videos and you can also take pictures by holding down the stem actually on your actual AirPods, as long as you've got the actual camera app open. And Apple did not mention this in their keynote, and I think this is a great thing to have, especially for a lot of you bloggers out there and things like this. This is going to be really helpful to actually have this. But then for the fifth thing that Apple did not mention, and I'm going to move over to Macs now, and that is some more Macs have lost compatibility with getting the latest version of macOS. We now are saying that only Macs after 2019 are now compatible with macOS 26. So if you have one of those MacBook Pros, the 2019 model, the 16-inch one, I think they only made one generation of that actual design that was sort of modified from the 2018 version, well, that is basically the oldest Mac that's compatible. After that, also, if you've got yourself a MacBook Air that came out at the early part of 2020, with the 4 ports, Thunderbolt ports, this is also compatible, but not the 2-port version. And then also the iMac that also came out in 2020, the last of the 27-inch model, that is also compatible with the latest version of macOS. And of course, if you have any Mac device out there that's got an M1 all the way up to the current M4, no matter what number of ports, obviously, this is definitely compatible with the latest version of macOS 26. And then the sixth big thing that Apple also didn't mention is that if you are actually recording down conversation audio files or transcripted, conversations in your Notes app on your iPhone, and obviously if you've got like translations and things like this, if you actually open up your Notes on your actual Mac, well, you can actually download those and you can also export them too. And this is definitely something really, really handy to have. Something else that's going to be super handy for someone out there, and that is to have this right here. This here is a MacBook Air M4, and I'm giving this away to one lucky subscriber at the end of this month, so the end of June time 2025. And the great thing is you can still enter into this giveaway right now. All you have to do to enter in is just put down into the comments below of what technology gear you're hoping to get in 2025. Maybe it is going to be a new MacBook Air or a new iPhone. Maybe it's going to be that new Nintendo Switch 2 or something else completely different. Well, let me know in the comments below right now. Now, the other part of that giveaway is also happening at the end of June time, where I'll be making a video on this channel giving you even more details about it, including a form to fill in, and most importantly, when I'm actually going to do the live stream to give away this MacBook Air that you can see right here. And the best thing that you can do right now is make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because you won't want to miss out on that. And plus, you also want to be a subscriber too, because obviously I'm giving this away to a subscriber. The other thing I just want to quickly tell you about this MacBook Air, it's actually been upgraded a fair bit. So we've actually got, as I like to say, the full fat M4 inside of this. It's a 10-core CPU and 10-core GPU. It's not a bin down version. We've also got 24 gigabytes of RAM instead of 16, and we've also got 512 gigabytes of storage instead of 256 gigabytes. And like I said, one lucky person on this channel is gonna get their hands on it, one lucky subscriber. The last thing I just want to quickly say to you guys, that sadly there are still lots of scammers and spammers out there. People still impersonating, turning to WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram direct message. Please do ignore these people, basically right here. Please do report them. Now, for the seventh thing that Apple did not mention is to do with iPadOS. Now, iPadOS, the great news is they said it could run on anything from an iPad mini all the way up to the biggest iPad Pro out there. But one thing they did not mention is that the latest version of WatchOS26 is not compatible with the iPad 7th generation. This was compatible with iPadOS 18 and it's lost compatibility with it. So this means now you have to have an iPad 8th generation, 9th generation, 10th, 11th, and then also all the other iPads that were compatible with iOS 18 or iPadOS 18 last year, they're all still compatible. So we're talking like the likes of like the iPad Pro with that A12X inside of it and the A12Z, and also like the ones with the A14 in the iPad Air, and obviously any device that has the M1 to M4 inside of it, and also the likes of that iPad mini with the Pro chip too. They are fully compatible with iPadOS 26. And then for the eighth thing, what Apple didn't mention to do with the calculator app, and that is if you want to write an equation, you can actually write this up to 3 variables now. And you can also create a map or create a graph in 3 different dimensions. And this is going to be pretty cool to actually use. And then after this, the ninth thing that Apple didn't mention is, you know, all those live transcriptions that you might have done on your iPhone or your iPad, for example? Well, you can actually play them back on your watch if you wanted to do that. So if you don't have your phone handy or anything like this, you can actually play these back on your actual watch. And this is going to be really, really handy for people to actually have that out and about. And then finally, for the 10th thing that Apple didn't mention, and that's to do with the Vision Pro, if you've got one of them, and that is, have you ever had, say, for example, your phone ring when you're using the Vision Pro, and you have to whip it off and do things like that? Well, the cool thing is you don't have to do that anymore. What you can actually do now is that you can actually just look at your iPhone with your Vision Pro, and it will just unlock your iPhone as long as it's linked to the same account. So this is really, really cool to actually have, that you don't have to type in your password or do Face ID because you've got the Vision Pro on your head. You don't have to worry about that anymore, because now it all syncs together as long as it's the same account on both devices. So that is pretty awesome too. And there we have it, guys. Those are my top 10 things that Apple didn't tell us about at WWDC 2025, and I think you should know about them. Can you think of any other things that Apple didn't mention? Well, put them down in the comments below, because I'd love to see them, and I'm sure lots of other people would like to see them too. And with that as well, guys, it's time to wrap up this video. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. As always, make sure that you subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell if you want to hear the latest Apple news, reviews and comparisons. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.